Pleased to be joined by one of two famous Americans who've rocked up in town this week, Bryant Jennings and Donald Trump.
The boy Donald. Yeah, that's yeah. Oh yeah, the boy Donald. Damn.
Are you a fan?
No, I'm not. I'm not a fan. I'm not necessarily a hater of him as well. You know, I'm just.
He attracts attention, doesn't he, wherever he goes?
I mean, yeah. You know, I see past negativity and ignorance and all of that other stuff. It doesn't affect me not one bit.
More importantly is your visit, of course. You're here to, well, kick off the promotion for your fight against Joe Joyce. Now, I want to ask you, were you surprised to be approached to fight someone who's only had 10 fights?
No. He's a silver medalist. That's how that goes. You know, Lomachenko had a title fight, his second fight. So no, when you're a gold medalist, silver medalist, even bronze medalist, you know, that's the type of path that they create for you when you turn over into the pros. You pretty much come 2 fights away from being ranked. You know, so I expected that from him, and even before previously. You know, it was a lot of noise, you know, back and forth on Twitter. He says a lot to other fighters on Twitter, you know, picking fights, doing what he's supposed to be doing as a fighter, you know. Yeah, so I'm quite sure that something like this wasn't far-fetched. You know, it was something that I could have expected to have received, that type of call.
Are you, or were you, a little bit concerned, but it's a little bit of a no-win for you, but the fact, if you lose, you lose, but if you win, people will say, well, you only beat a novice who's had 10 fights.
No, I don't think they would say that. I think he displayed enough to be able to be a notable win. And like I was saying previously in another interview, it was just like the fans make up boxing. The fans and the fighters, and the people are in control of the politics. The politics are the overseers. They veto everything. You know, but the fans is what actually makes the fighter. So if you got 100,000 fans screaming Joe Joyce, he's hot. You know, and regardless of what ranking that he has, and regardless of what position somebody doesn't put him in, what position somebody doesn't put him in, it still doesn't take away from what the fans see in him and how they view him. So I mean, when I win, you know, it's definitely a notable win, and I think it's going to be a win that, you know, that keeps me right where I'm at, or move me up.
What danger signals do you see? I mean, you sort of said when I win, but do you see him as a dangerous opponent, a real one?
Yeah, I see him as a dangerous opponent. It's a lot of guys that are dangerous, and even the ones that we don't look at as such could be even more dangerous. You know, the most dangerous fighter is the fighter that don't got no damn tapes. You know, that's a dangerous fighter because you're looking like, I don't know what this guy's going to bring, I don't know what it is. But no, he's a dangerous. I would consider him a dangerous fighter. He's a heavy puncher. He's a big guy. He's a high class Olympian, silver medalist, and you know, that's about all the compliments I'm gonna keep giving to him. I mean, he's a dangerous enough fighter for it to be a great fight and a good win for me.
He must be quite hard to prepare for in the sense, but he's just one of these fighters that just pours forward. He's relentless. Doesn't necessarily throw massive shots all the time, but just keeps throwing shots all the time.
Yeah, well, he's gonna have shots being thrown back at him. You know, and last I checked, you know, his defense is not as good. So you know, he can catch every punch with his jaw.
Is he someone that you've only just started looking at, or is he someone you were aware of before?
No, I mean, I was aware of. I'm aware of everybody in my division. You know, at least for like at a certain level. You know, once you get to a certain level, I know who you are. I may have saw you. I may have seen you. I may have seen you in the gym, seen you around, or seen you at a particular fight on the undercard or whatever. But yeah, he was somebody that I was aware of, and I was made aware of, you know, based off of the noise that he was making with, with on Twitter and all that stuff like that, versus the noise that he actually made in the actual boxing game. But I mean, he came with the accolades, so it kind of matched up, and you know, he was just letting himself be known, and that's how I knew about it.
You went to Top Rank to re-establish your world title credentials as such. You took a defeat last time against Rivas. How much of a setback was that to you, sort of in general?
What, setback in the game?
Yeah, I mean, how much did it knock you? Well, personally and in a sporting sense.
Personally, it's that's just the obstacle that I understood that I had to get over. And being as though it was a failed mission, I didn't necessarily fail the plan. A lot of these guys have hundreds of amateur fights, and they lost plenty of them. So that was their way of gaining experience and gaining those, gaining something from those losses that they had. So I mean, when I lost, it just was like, all right, forget it, it's over. Put it behind you. Done deal. You gonna sit here and cry about it, or you gonna get up? I'm sorry, you gonna get up and move on. So that's what I chose to do. Get up and move on. So this fight with Rivas it does nothing. It does nothing to me mentally. But in the boxing game, it'll knock you out of the ring. Is it take your position? But here it is. Also, people still love me. I'm still that guy. I'm still who I am. Personally and as a person. And in the boxing game, it doesn't really. I mean, the fans, whoever the fans say is hot, that's who hot. But me myself, I can live with myself. I'm good.
Well, this is the fight, I guess, that can reclaim lost territory.
Right, definitely.
I've got to ask you while you're here. I mean, obviously there was a big heavyweight fight in America at the weekend. I can imagine. I bet you've been answering it all day, but. Your assessment, I mean, does this blow the landscape right wide open?
Yeah, it blows the landscape wide open because, well, I mean, not necessarily because of the political aspect of who's the winner. It's like we're all aware of the political war that comes between promoters and handlers in boxing. So Al Haymon actually has Andy Ruiz, if I'm not mistaken, and he has Deontay Wilder. So he gets to sit in the driver's seat, and things could be, things are going to get very interesting. But far as that fight, I actually knew that style matchup wasn't a good one for Joshua, and I always knew that, Andy Ruiz, he was never sweet, even though we approached him a couple times, but that was literally just that was for position. Not thinking that he was sweet, but just understanding that look, this we can win this, just as well as when we reach out to whoever else. But that was a bad matchup for Anthony Joshua, and it showed rematch wise. I think that if there was something that prevented Joshua from being comfortable in the ring, then that could determine a different outcome in a rematch. But if not, then I kind of could see not the same thing happening, but the same type of fight, that it was. Maybe Joshua could easily recover or catch or whatever, but it's just like I see the same approach from Andy Ruiz. It might not be nothing different from him, and the only person who has to do something different is Anthony Joshua.
As a student of the heavyweight scene, just finally, what do you know about Gorman and Dubois?
Well, I sparred Gorman a couple times. Bright kid. He's pretty gifted. I've never even heard of. I've heard of Daniel, but I never really watched him or anything like that. But I just think that's a great matchup. Those guys have spent a lot of time in the ring together. They sparred a lot, and they are the main event. So it has to be something. Shoot, if I'm on the undercard of them, so they had to be something. And I just think it'll be a good fight.
Bryant Jennings, lovely to meet you. Very best of luck.
All right, appreciate it.